I was just having lunch with a friend of mine and we were talking about some issues related to piano playing. He asked me my opinion on what my religion was, which is the exact words, on hand redistribution. And because he was saying, he said, I know some pianists who are very, I would say almost dogmatic, but obsessive about playing it the way that the composer wrote it in terms of just the layout at the keyboard for the hands. And I'm of the idea that any passage should be able to be played, hopefully consistent and played well all the time. And that is independent of necessarily the fingering that's written in the score, or even the way it's written for one hand or redistributed to be played by two hands. So, in fact, I would play practically with my nose or my elbow if I could be sure 100% of the time that it was going to work consistently. And just because a composer wrote it a specific way doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to dogmatically follow that. Chopin and Liszt write exceptionally well for the piano, and if they wrote it a specific way, there's probably good reason for that. But last I checked, Chopin and Liszt are not going to be the ones on stage having to play it. It's going to be us, the performer. So often when I have a difficult passage, I will check to see what is my other hand doing and can it be of any help. And this is often not indicated in the music, but if it doesn't change the sound and it's consistent, then I'm all for it. So I've been looking at this Beethoven Piano Concerto. This is Emperor Concerto in the first movement, measure 171. There's this really dreadful passage. As I was learning this piece, I found it to be really exposed and awkward. It's marked dolce. It's basically piano writing, and rather awkward, what I call zigzag arpeggios. The traditional fingering looks something like this, and as I practiced that, I just thought, wow, this is really exposed. I felt like I was on a tightrope. And I wasn't convinced I would be able to do that 100% of the time. I looked at my left hand, which was sitting around doing nothing, and I thought, well, how can I redistribute that? And it looks a little bit like this. And specifically, what I'm doing is filling in one note with the left hand, while my right hand then gets a chance to change hand positions. If it's not noticeable by ear, then I could care less. If that works every time, I'm all for it. If I can bank on that, then why wouldn't I do that fingering? Why wouldn't you do that fingering if it involves free hand distribution? So explore that. There are a couple notable exceptions. If you were playing a difficult etude that had a particular skill in mind, like Opus 10 number 1 of Chopin, which is so awkward and cruel. If someone played that with two hands, it would be sort of funny, but it wouldn't really be appropriate because you're defying the very thing that Chopin was trying to teach you in that particular piece. But 90% of the time, I'm completely for hand redistribution, and I go by this maxim: if it sounds good, it is good.